Good evening and welcome to the August 6th meeting of the Park and Rec Commission. And it's now 6:32 p.m. We'll call the meeting to order. Item number 1 on the agenda, public forum. Seeing no one in the audience wishing to address the commission, we'll move on to item number 2. Any comments, changes, or questions with respect to the staff and director reports?
Was my packet missing it, or do we have a senior report?
I think mine's missing it too, so
Yeah.
Terry's been out a couple days, so I don't know if just didn't get in here or she didn't do one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe you can email it to us
Yeah.
if she has it.
Well, Rick, the community picnic and fireworks were fabulous.
Yeah.
They were good.
It was great. It was a wonderful afternoon. I had a great time.
So many people turned out. It was amazing, and I think that the having the vendors there, having the business people, particularly giving some visibility to the people who don't have a shop but have some kind of a business
was a
was a
good
really
addition.
good idea.
Yes.
It's not there.
Yeah.
Really made it a community kind of event.
Mhm.
Any feedback from the additional fireworks?
They were
Um,
fabulous.
really were.
They were fabulous.
The vast majority of people that
Of course.
commented thought they were the best ever.
Somebody
There were
found
some comments that weren't quite as pleased with them, but I think it was a preference issue because we had some lower lying
Yes.
things, and that's the kind of things that I heard people oohing and awing and clapping and screaming over because they were different. You don't see those in any other place. But and they got the shooter. I think he told me I may have the number wrong, but something like 200 of them went off in 20 seconds or something. He was like, boom, 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 boom.
Yeah,
That was-
I believe it.
Most people were very pleased. There's some, a few comments like anything. You don't always please everybody. I think most people were very, very pleased with the fireworks.
Good.
Just noticed somebody, were you here to speak at public forum to address the commission, or just?
I'm here just.
Okay.
I think when we get to item D, 6D, all business, dog
Okay.
park, maybe we can ask Joanne.
Okay, Joanne, we'll wait for that. Okay. Item number 3, correspondence. There's a lot of correspondence. I'm not going to read them all, most of them with respect to the fireworks. Some correspondence that Rick sent out to the police department, the fire department, and various other individuals and groups that helped put on the town picnic that afternoon or the fireworks that night, so.
But there were a couple of comments, very positive comments about the
Daniel
Daniel
Beach.
Avenue Beach.
Yes.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, 2, and I'll acknowledge them since Barbara brought them up. One from Ann Delaney, basically said, it looks amazing, and in my 45-plus years here, I have never seen it looking so good. And she complimented the workers in general, and also one from Bob Mentzinger. Thanks for your efforts at the Daniel Beach Avenue Beach. It has made a tremendous difference. Will you be continuing on a regular basis?
So far, we are.
Okay, so, and I think that pretty much addresses,
And every day there have been people on the beach, mainly
Good.
sunning, but a few
Yeah.
people swimming at high
Yeah.
tide.
Great.
Yeah,
Yep.
they have, more than I've ever seen.
Yep, because it looks so nice. It's cleaned and
Yeah, there's parking.
clear of shells and.
Yeah, the machine does a great job. Really good.
well, it sounds like that was a worthwhile and prudent investment.
Yeah.
So we need a motion to approve the minutes.
Yeah, correspondence is all done. Item number 3, minutes approval. Any changes requested or need to be addressed? All those in favor of accepting, I'm sorry, Barbara?
Move to accept the minutes as read.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Done.
I'm gonna have to abstain.
Abstained. I wasn't here either.
Yes. Oh, you missed one of the better meetings.
What can you do?
Hopefully, if this one is good enough, we'll be out of here. It'll be a better meeting.
You won.
Barbara has set a pace here that I have trouble keeping up with. Okay.
Peer pressure.
Approval of bills.
I had a question.
Okay.
Under 144-55-200, the last one, ThyssenKrupp, I don't know if I'm saying it correctly, but $430.70. I looked it up online and it came up as an elevator company, is
Yeah.
that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a contract. I think it's a quarterly contract we have now. It used to be monthly. I believe it's quarterly now. And that's just the contract.
Maintenance.
Yeah, they inspect it every month,
Okay.
and we actually just got a notice from, there's something that has to get repaired on an alarm, or something has to be repaired on it, so we'll have
Okay.
a different bill on that one next month.
Okay.
And I want to make a note that Refrigeration Unlimited, that is a duplicate. It should be just $120. So if you, the bottom line, instead of the grand total, would be 112, 147.42.
And what is, Mullane?
Mullane is a nursery. Those are plants that we got at Chittenden Park and the community center when we redid the garden back here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. In Chittenden Park, the Boy Scout project where they planted the trees and
Yeah,
the grasses there.
okay.
Didn't we have a question, and I don't remember if we got an answer at last month's meeting about a duplicate bill?
Yes.
John thought there
Yeah.
might
I
have
wasn't
been a
here, but I
duplicate
think it
bill.
was Porta Johns, I think.
Okay.
And,
When then somebody asked, where were the Porta Johns? Or-
I did, yes.
yeah, I think I'll double check, but I thought we looked at that. It wasn't duplicated because we've got so many of them out in different locations. I think it was either that or it was 2 months of bills. I forgot offhand what it was. Now, Bonnie did mention to me, or Ellen did, after the last meeting. I think that's what it was.
Okay, move that we accept the bills and the total is presented, $112,147.42.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, item 6, old business, Standing Fields Committee.
Just very quickly, Paul Schmidt and Jim Portley, this is for the Baldwin Drainage Project for the Little League fields here. Jim Portley had come up with a blueprint plan, and Paul Schmidt and Larry Marshak are volunteering to write the specs for that for us to go out to bid for it. They're just completing that, so hopefully we'll be doing that soon. The high school baseball field, Tony and I are meeting there tomorrow. Tony's meeting, I'm off in the afternoon. Tony's meeting later in the afternoon with Todd Williams and somebody else on that committee. There's some issues with the baseball field. I don't know if you've been there lately, but I don't know why, but they've been mowing the infield and the outfield. When I say they, the contractor's doing that. But there are weeds that are literally look like bushes about 2-3 feet tall at
In the
first,
infield.
second, and third base.
Yep. Been there.
I don't know why they're not mowing that part. It's a mystery, so we're going to talk about that tomorrow.
Well, the other thing you're probably going to hear about tomorrow is, because I've gotten 1 or 2 phone calls suggesting that, and you and I have agreed on in sense that it's time for the Park and Rec to take over maintenance of the field, because it's costing the building committee money to pay the contractor every month to take care of the field, and I said absolutely not.
Yeah, that's a
And
good plan.
we're not going to do it until the people can use the facility in town, whether it be the high school baseball team, fall baseball, or any other adults in the community. We're not going to take it over, and all this stuff should have been taken into consideration prior to them, the issues that we have. Now I'm hearing things that they may even have that road built by spring.
Well, they have the stone down. I was down there today. The
Oh.
stone for the new road back
Okay.
there. They're creating a new roadway behind the school, which will be access to that field. And part of the holdup for the baseball field was that they didn't, until there was handicapped access to the field, they didn't want to give that field up to be played on. And so this is one of the meetings that Tony and I are going to be at tomorrow morning. Is they've created some red lines to show where this walkway will go across the Maturo field hockey field. And I saw those lines today, so we're meeting tomorrow morning at, I think, 10:30 or something like that, with Cliff Gordon there on that one, because we're concerned of where they may be putting them. It might impact the ability for us to put a full lacrosse field in there next year. So we have to look at that and find out how that's going to impact that. Tony's going to measure it beforehand to make sure we can still get the full width. Where the road is coming in the back there, it cut down on the length of the field somewhat. To create an opportunity for this roadway to come down, they had to extend the bank there to have support for the roadway. And so that came, I'm going to say 15, 20 feet onto the field. It was beyond the end, really, of where the lacrosse field was anyway, so we may be all right, but it's going to be pretty close. So we'll see. It's, it's part of the whole project, but we're going to Tony's gonna measure tomorrow morning what we'll have for width there now with this walkway in to make sure that that won't be a problem. So we'll know going into that
Because that
meeting.
might drive how far we push the new turf field. I mean,
Yeah.
if we're gonna lose a field, there might be some justification there for,
Yeah.
what is that sign, plan ahead, I always say. Jacobs Beach project, by the way, just a comment, I went down there, I haven't seen the permanent location for the chairs, but I did go see the Adirondack chairs, so. Place looks fabulous.
It does, it really looks great. We did get the 8 Adirondack chairs, and if you haven't seen them, you really have to go down because they really add that summer pop of color and make it feel like that festive summer feel, just having that area with some color. And I went down and met with Rick and Ellen and John Cunningham, the landscape architect, to discuss placement of those chairs. We also were concerned about, do we keep them tethered to the ground, but we also need to move them for mowing. We didn't want to not, in case someone thought they would look nice in their yard too. So we came up with what we're trying for now, which seems to be okay, is to run a cable through. And the other thing that I felt was important was that even though we want to have flexibility to move those chairs, some of those chairs have been donated and will have a plaque on them with the person's name in which they were dedicated for. And I really didn't want them to turn into sand chairs
No.
and have the flexibility of going down to the sand because they have more of a meaning than just a regular beach sand chair. So we placed them in 3 groups for now. We have 3 down by that tree that we were able to save, 3 down farther at another tree, and then 2 down closer to the kayak, kayak area. So far, I mean, right away, they got moved and people were sitting in them right away. And the response has been really great. People
Good.
love them. So hopefully we can get some more
Great.
as time goes
And
by.
Sue, 7 of the 8 are paid for now. We just
Yeah.
got another donation that came in today, so.
Terrific.
They're,
Wonderful.
all but 1 are paid for by people donating.
Yeah.
And I just sent the order in for the nameplates. We should have them within a week.
Right.
And Rick, if someone watching the tape here wanted to have a memorial chair, what would the price be for them?
It's $450,
Okay.
and we still have one that's not
Okay,
accounted for by
Accounted for.
anybody. It was there, we paid for it, but,
Yes.
it's not a donation.
Yeah. The bench has been installed as well.
Yeah.
The epoxy floor will be done in the fall once
Mhm.
things quiet down. We didn't want to take that bathroom out of commission. And the other issue that we're working on is weeding, is to get that area weeded because we did weed in the front, but we need to get that main strip weeded. And we've had a great source come in from Roses for Autism, but they're only able to come once a week, and that really is not enough. So if we could get it all weeded at once now, and then use that group who
Once a
was
week
nice
to
enough to
maintain it.
come to maintain it. So we're trying to really ramp up to get that weeded. We've reached out to the Boy Scouts
Yeah.
and also to see if some friends of Jacobs Beach could be created to come down and kind of get that going. The changing rooms have been completed and they look great.
Yep.
So we're really clicking along. It does look great. And people have they've had more passes than we've ever had. And every
Mhm.
time you go down, there's always a lot of people down there.
Yeah.
More than we've ever had.
And I'd like to mention, the changing rooms were built by our 2 guys.
Yeah.
Mark Marzucco, our newest guy that we hired, and Lou Heitman worked together to build those, and
They
they're
did a
very
great
nice.
job.
Did a nice job with it.
Good.
Mhm.
I also spoke to whoever was in charge down there today at the kiosk, and I guess they feel comfortable that they have that issue with people sneaking in the back way pretty much under control. So
Mhm.
whatever we did seems to have worked well. They were okay with it, and it didn't add a tremendous burden to what they were doing, so they're okay with it.
Mhm.
6C, Eagle Scout projects, Rick?
Just update the bleacher repair. The Eagle Scout who's working on that, he's just contacted me the other day to set up an account at Rings End Lumber where he's going to buy the lumber, so that's work moving on. The Jacobs Beach flagpole, the footing is in. Just waiting for the Scout to be able to come in and install the flagpole. He put that in about 2 weeks ago. I wanted to make sure the concrete was solidified and everything before the pole goes in. The community center garden is done. When you leave, take a look. right out here, they did a nice job on that. I mean, it's really nice. We've got some tomatoes almost ready to pick. And the plan is to have some of those tomatoes for the seniors for lunch. And that's completed. They did a really nice job there. And the Lake Quannapock Orienteering Trail, I haven't heard back from that scout, but that one, they're pretty independent in what they're doing there, just to do some cleanup. There's not really a lot we had to do with that project. If I remember right, he was going to clean up the trail and some of the overhanging branches, and I think make some new maps and so on. And then, so I'm sure we'll hear when that's done.
Okay, 6D, dog park.
Well, maybe Rick could give us first an update on what he's learned from the town. If you remember the last time we had this on the agenda, we talked about what would the town need us to clarify to have some kind of a relationship between one of our public parks and a 501c3 organization.
I don't think we heard anything more back on that. They were addressing more of the liability issue on that. But with the next step, though, I did talk to George Crawl. We'd have to go to planning and zoning for approval. He said if there's any improvements going to be made, he said, well, yeah, it was going to be a fence going up and parking is going to be made better than what it is now. He said then you would need P&Z approval for that.
Okay.
So the next step, I think, would be to go to them before any fundraising begins to make sure everything's good, the town, supports it.
So wouldn't we need a plan, though, to present at P&Z? And would we be the presenters, or?
It could be us. It could
A
be
team?
the group. Sometimes like if youth lacrosse when they wanted to build the wall at Nut Plains Park, they made the presentation to planning and zoning. We just approved it, but they made the presentation because it's on our property, but it's really their project.
Okay.
So we could do it jointly. I mean, I could help fill out the application, Joanne, when we get to that point. But that's probably the next step. And Pam is away on vacation for a few weeks. When she's back, I'll follow up with her too.
Okay, and then we've got to get on their agenda, and that's
Yeah.
not always something that happens right away.
Right.
Right, okay. So Joanne Basile and Patty Bowen is here, they're both here to bring us up to date on anything from their end?
No, actually, well, I'll tell you that I did get an opportunity to go out to the Hamden Dog Park. As you may know, we have a resident in Guilford who was instrumental in putting together the one in Hamden, Veronica Soliel. She lives over there in town, and she
On
also has
Union
a
Street.
place on Indian Cove. And it's a wonderful dog park. It's very shaded, which is nice, I guess, for the dogs. We have to kind of relook at that issue in terms of orange, make sure that there's enough shade for the dogs to be able to find comfort so that it's not beating and hot and so on. And we talked a little bit about some of their process, how they went through doing this, and how it's really become a model for the state. They have other communities from Connecticut as well as communities from other states coming in and looking at the Hamden Dog Park because it's so well run, it was so well conceived, and it's so well maintained. And most of this is done through a kind of volunteer group of people. And it's really a really nice place for dogs and dog owners to go. And it's interesting, Rick shared with me the email from the General Counsel on the rules that they would like to see in place. And it's very consistent with what they have in Hamden. And in fact, one of the things that Veronica had suggested, we had talked about, was in the event that Guilford's General Counsel or insurance company have any issues that they would like to have resolved or addressed, they could certainly call the person in Hamden who would be able to do that and could be perhaps offer some advice or guidance if she has some questions. You just let me know if she wants to do that and I can arrange for that linkage to happen. So at any rate, that was great to see. I've seen other dog parks, but not in Connecticut. Well, it's not true. I've seen some in Connecticut as well. But the Hamden Dog Park is really quite extraordinary. And so with that and getting this information from the General Counsel in that list of information, we wanted to know where you all were and if we could start moving ahead. Patty and I have been talking, and we'd like to be able to expand the number of people who are involved in this activity to try to get a group of supporters together. Because obviously once we start moving ahead to actually start building it out, we're going to need lots of people involved. It's good to have them as part of the planning process as well. So we're really looking to you as the commission to kind of give this your stamp of approval and working together to kind of get it through whatever next steps you think we need to take on this. And we're certainly open to, helping facilitate that in any way. We do appreciate the support and, kind of active movement that this commission has given this idea. I had an opportunity this afternoon to go to a little discussion that was held over at the library about dog behavior, and it was by, did you get the notice in the mail?
I knew it was there.
From the library, right. It was the grandson of a Guilford resident, and he had spent a year out in Colorado, and he's a very gentle soul, and he came in to talk about kind of certain animal behavior issues, dog behavior issues, and this is the second similar event that they've had there in terms of animal behavior, dog behavior issues. And I'm always amazed at how many people, the room is completely full, standing room only, in both times that I have been there for those types of events. So it says to me, of course one of the things he was recommending was that there was opportunities for dogs to socialize together. And of course I wanted to put my hand up and say, how many people would like a dog park? But I sat on my hands for that. But that's the kind of, that's a great opportunity to kind of publicize and get people aware of the fact that this is an option or a possibility in Guilford and we need their help.
Okay, well, two things. I think initially, I kind of thought as a commission we had already basically given
Okay.
my language, a stamp of approval on.
We did.
On the process beginning, so let's eliminate that as a concern. And in the interim, probably the best person to deal with respect to the department is Rick, because he knows all the ins and outs of what's got to be done with planning and zoning. And I would suggest to you, at some point in time, if you think we need to get a commission member involved, then we get somebody to join that team and work with you guys. But I would just take the next steps, assuming that, that there's been approval from the commission to proceed. So I don't see any problem with that. Is that okay with that?
Sure.
Okay.
We should be probably by September or early October on P&Z's agenda. It should go that, it shouldn't be that much of a.
Yeah, so they're gonna ask for a site plan, so I'll have to kind of get sort of a layout, how many square feet it's gonna be.
Maybe Jim Portley could help you with that.
He might help, yeah. He
There
came
was-
down once,
There
Well,
was,
he came once,
yeah.
yes.
Right.
And
Jim gave me.
Any architects own dogs?
I'm sorry?
Any landscape architects that own dogs?
We can find one
There you go.
or two.
Yes.
without a doubt, we'll be on that.
I think probably we would look to you, though, to really organize the dog enthusiasts and,
Yeah.
and gather your group of volunteers. And maybe Veronica would be willing to help you, given that she's had that experience in Hamden.
Rick, the issues that you had first been concerned about with the dog park in terms of the elevation and mowing, and did that ever get resolved, or did you work out how?
No,
you
we still gotta
deal
figure
with
that out, because the way it's laid out now, we know there's no way to mow it. It's just
Yeah, I
rocks
remember.
and it's,
That was an issue.
Some of, Jim did say, though, they would help move some of the dirt piles and stuff like that and try to smooth it out some. I think that's something we have to figure out, what's the surface gonna be?
Right.
And I don't know what Hamden is. I probably should go and take a look at Hamden at some
Yeah,
point.
we could certainly, if anybody wants, and Rick absolutely will organize a trip. We can do a field trip for other members of the commission that might be interested in seeing the Hampton Park. Well, wood chips, but we had looked also at the possibility of stones and small rocks as a surface. Actually, it turns out in Hamden, it's a combination of dirt and, strangely enough, grass. And the grass seems to last. I don't know how that works, doesn't work in my house. But, so that's what they use in Hamden. I'm not sure, their topography is different than this one. I'm not sure if that would be the best surface. But again, it's something that we would fundraise to have that taken care of.
But Clinton
It's
uses
something Rick needs to
wood
take
care
chips,
of.
and it's
Yeah.
all wood that's been chipped on from trees that have fallen.
Like at the stump.
Yeah, and they put it down as a base.
We have plenty of that.
Yeah.
So really,
Well,
you
like
would,
that
you
you
would be
do it.
the person that would have to oversee as
Yeah.
far as approving what is the best service or, you know.
It's gotta be something
what
that's
would
gonna
work
be
for
maintenance-free.
Maintenance,
Right,
yeah.
so we'll have to, okay, well, you would work with
So
them
you
on
work in
that.
Yeah.
tandem with them.
Good.
Years ago, they were experimented with the Tucson Tomaso and replacing clay in fields with that granular.
Stone dust?
Stone dust.
Sometimes, yeah.
That might be an inexpensive alternative.
Mhm.
Excuse me, well, you know what that is. so
Yeah.
We could certainly
Yeah.
Okay.
discuss.
Yeah,
going
okay.
forward.
Thank you.
Big rocks or heavy rocks are too rough on.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
And,
They used to use this they tried it as a replacement for the clay infields on baseball fields. Some people
Okay.
kept
How
it,
did it
some
work?
didn't. It worked fine. The one thing you didn't get was weeds growing in the middle of the infield. That's for sure.
That would be nice.
Yeah, it served two purposes. However, if you're a baseball player and you didn't wear a sliding pad and you didn't slide the right way, you live with a strawberry or a raspberry, whatever you wanted to call it, for a while.
Is somebody gonna contact the neighbors?
Well, I think doesn't
That's
planning and
part of
zoning,
planning and
it's all
zoning.
part of planning and zoning, isn't it?
Yeah.
I believe in order to file, you have to, at least
Adjacent property owners.
adjacent property owners
Yeah,
have
so
to be notified
that
by
gets done.
certified mail.
Yeah. Okay.
6F, community picnic and fireworks, I think we,
No, E.
I'm sorry.
Request
Bus service.
expanded
Oh,
bus
I
service.
crossed it out already, yeah, that's one. The request for expanded bus service, I noticed and wasn't aware of it, that we've approved a trial for Wednesday mornings now.
Well, Jack, you were at the meeting. Do you wanna take the lead?
Go ahead.
Feel free, Rick.
So the meeting, it was Jack, Terry Buckley, Patty Haggerty, Suzanne Carlson, who's one of our riders, and Carl Balistraci. And we met, 2 weeks ago, I think?
Yep.
And so there was a lot of discussion about expanding the service. And, you know, Terry and I talked and looked at, is there a way we could try, I don't even know if we were talking about every Wednesday or try, every other Wednesday, or try some Wednesdays and see if we could do this. To do it, though, we would, we don't have extra hours to do this. You know, we're limited number of hours that we have. But I think she was going to look into changing some of the hours of things we do on Thursday, maybe do some of those on Wednesday. For example, I'm not sure we're going to do this, but maybe the Thursday morning shopping trip would be Wednesday morning. We do a Thursday morning and a Thursday afternoon, so maybe we'd move to Thursday morning. While and only half days we're talking about. We don't have staff or budget to go a whole day, but the thought was to try that, to the Wednesday morning shopping, and when people get dropped off from shopping, we could do some of these other rides, you know, before the driver goes back to pick the people up at Big Y from the shopping. And so I'm not sure Terry's even lined up drivers to do this yet. We're still looking at this, but we're trying to see, is there anything we can do that doesn't cost us any more money? We can still do it within the budget we have. And so that's the only thing we talked about. We haven't finalized anything really.
How will that
Yeah.
affect the,
And
go ahead.
we're trying not to disturb the trips that are held on
Yeah,
Wednesday.
exactly.
Well, I was gonna
Right.
That's where I
And
was
they're
going.
about 2 a month, sometimes 3 a month.
Right.
So we recognize the value of those trips.
Yeah.
But as I said to the small committee, unfortunately, we're thinking tactically rather than strategically. It's, can we manage these hours? Can we shift this around? Can we do this? If there are demonstrated needs, then we ought to turn those needs into programs. And from the program, then we can develop the strategy and the tactics to implement them. And there may well be a need for medical transportation on Wednesdays. We don't know that because it doesn't exist.
Right.
So if we're not aware of the need, then there's no way of even addressing it.
But I'm concerned that the express need is coming from a very small population of 1 or 2, and we're trying to respond to that call for help. And maybe there's another way, if someone is truly needing medical transportation, but it's one person, that we find another way rather than turn our whole program. I mean, I agree with you. It's not thinking strategically. Maybe helping that person to find the medical transportation they need through social services or volunteers or something else is the way to go, rather than change our whole bus schedule.
Well, again, then that makes the bus schedule dictate or determine the level of services. And at this point, we only know of maybe 1 or 2 people who would want a medical transportation on Wednesday. But we don't know beyond that. We haven't done a needs assessment of that. And maybe if the program gets started on that limited basis, that need would manifest itself. Or we could ask them. The current folks who use the medical transportation component of what we provide.
But there's an issue of doing a needs assessment for a service we don't yet have, but we're not even thinking about providing. If you build it, they'll come kind of thing. I mean, maybe we don't want to, because of our limited resources, we don't want to expand the bus transportation program. I agree with you on the one hand, but on the other, we could be asking people if they want something that we're
That we
not prepared
cannot
to
be,
give.
we don't have the drivers, we don't have the
we don't
dispatch
have
at
the
this
bus,
point
we
to
don't have the-
expand a whole lot.
Right.
That could be the case
You're right.
with any program or service we offer. But the question is, do we have a value system here? And the value system is, in part, is medical transportation a service we should provide? Or provide even more than we do? And we don't know that.
Well,
Well,
see,
that would require a value clarification.
yeah, and my
on
issue
three.
with that is I provide transportation, we provide transportation 80% of the weekdays of every given week. So I just find it difficult for me to comprehend that somebody who wants to do something on a Wednesday can't find some time on a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, or Friday to get it done. That's just me. So like I said, the need might be more. The other impact might be, all of a sudden, if we open up Wednesdays, you may be reducing what's going on in the other days. I don't know necessarily that. But I agree with Barbara. If you build it, they will come. We open it up, we're going to be manning it from here on in. I'll go back to my 5 years ago with the air conditioning on the roof, paying for it.
So can
But I don't see that as
ask
a problem,
question? Can we clarify what our budget is, what the resources are? Do we have the ability to do this or not? And then
Well, I
it
think that's
sounds
what
to
Terry
me,
was looking
what
at.
you're asking for, Jack, sounds like it's something else definitely, maybe an assessment that needs to take place and maybe a goal identification for this program. That's a kind of, that actually would be a larger project that would take more time and a separate conversation. I guess right now we have if I'm understanding correctly, right now we have a request on the table for expanding the
One.
bus service, and so I just want to clarify.
But it's not really going to be expanded, they're going to take some time
Shifting.
from shifting, exactly. So
So,
So we're gonna look at
when
that.
we shift away from Thursday, perhaps the people on Thursday are going to be speaking louder about their need to keep it on Thursday, and then we'll have to go back and reassess
sure,
this
so,
again.
so can I just clarify, do we have the ability to expand so that we can keep what is and then add on? And then secondly,
Not now.
I feel personally, I don't feel I'm in a position to actually assess the needs and to know that I feel like the program staff are probably the right people to know what is the best way to allocate resources. And so I personally would not want to weigh in on that. But just trust that to be the guidance, and you guys can play with it as you need. So I just want to clarify, do we have the ability to expand it? Because then that would require us to go ahead and say we can put more money towards this, or we have in our budget and we can look at, because that's something I do feel like we could contribute to if we want to expand our existing resources. And if we don't, if that's not the conversation that we're going to have, then from where I'm sitting, I'd prefer to just let the staff figure out what's the right.
So we have 60 hours a week budgeted for bus drivers, and we're using those 60 hours a week. And that's what Terry still drives way more than she should, and because she needs to, because people need to
Do we
drive.
count her hours and not 60?
No,
See,
no,
so
because she's
there's
not
a problem to
paid for
begin
that.
with. We're actually doing more than 60 hours.
And it doesn't include the trips paid for themselves, the Wednesday trips, so that's not part of that 60, that's over, if it's an 8-hour trip, that's not in that 60. And we just expanded we were at 57 hours, and we got 3 more hours this year. But part of the issue is beyond the drivers, is the dispatch. And it's phone calls, and it's calling, because it happens every day. The bus driver will be at the person's house and call up, their office, say, well, can you call so-and-so, I'm out front and they're not here. And, it happens multiple times every day. So somebody's got to answer that phone, call the person, and get a hold of the driver and say, oh, we just got a call from so-and-so's doctor, they're running late, don't go pick them up yet. So there's a lot of that, so it's more than the driver hours, it's having people that can answer that phone. And right now, our dispatcher is Patty, and she's 24 hours a week. There are 1 or 2 days she's not even here. And Wednesday, I think, is one of the days she's not here.
Right.
So, I mean, we have to just consider all these things. If we're gonna expand it, we gotta keep in mind, well, who's gonna answer those calls? And now we can put that on Terry. You know,
Would making that position a full-time position, would that solve all the problems?
it would help.
So expanding, so just to, I just want to be clear, expanding then would mean that we would need you all to assess exactly what we needed to expand, whether it's drivers, whether it's dispatchers,
Right.
whether it's more vehicles, I mean, whatever the expansion suggestion is, I'm interested in knowing what the full cost of that would be, because that's something then that we can
Yeah,
assess and
because we'd
figure
have to
out.
budget for that.
But
And
if
it seems-
this is
yeah.
just shifting resources, then, you know, I think that's something for you.
Yeah.
I think the last meeting was to just shift resources. I mean, I think maybe expanded in the agenda is not quite the word we were
Yeah.
looking for at this point.
Yeah.
If we expand it, it seems to me we have to wait until budget time, talk about this, and put together some sort of.
And based on the things that Jenny was
Proposing.
talking about, you know, let's,
Right.
you know, we say we need 60 hours, but we're really giving it 80. So let's take the reality of what we're really, and go from that perspective and just go to the town, present our budget and say, we need a full-time dispatcher, and in addition to that, I need to add an additional 20 hours so that I can free Terry up to do the things that she's supposed to be doing. But we've got to we've got a plan to do that, and we've got to do it through a budget process.
Right.
And part of that is gathering the information, but there's no reason why we can't improve on, for lack of a better word, the overall service.
Right.
Just,
So right now, it's just a shifting around to see if we
Just a
can't get it to work
shifting-
better.
So would, is
but
the
it's still
commission
something
okay
we
with
should
us doing
consider in
that?
the next budget cycle.
If it works
Absolutely.
out with Terry, if she finds that it's not a severe impact for the shoppers Thursday morning, for example, to do Friday, I'm sorry, Wednesday.
Wednesday.
And we can still do the trips, if we're able to do that, do we have the okay to try that, or do we want to wait
The
till the
worst that
budget
can happen is
process?
it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Can't-
And
Well,
you
I
go back
agree
to the
with
way it
Jenny, that's
was.
not our
This is
call,
not-
that's your
it's
call.
not
Yeah.
just
Yours and
it's
I
our
agree.
prerogative.
To work
We
within the
trust
budget
you
that we
all.
have?
Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But right now, the reason that this discussion is taking place is there's just one request for Wednesday right now? Am I missing something, or? But that's what started this
Yeah.
conversation,
There was an,
is
yeah.
just one person
It was
is asking
initiated-
for?
Initiated by one
Wednesday.
person, but I think we'll find that, as you said, if you
Yeah, once
you build
you-
the come, if we offer that, I think there'll be others that'll start wanting to take it. That's one of the things I think Terry needs to, with a newsletter, maybe do a little survey
Yeah,
of, hey, we're thinking of doing this. If we offered Wednesday, raise your hand, who would come?
Right.
Kind of thing, and just find out, are we serving 20 people? Are we serving 3?
right. That was
So
my next
we can,
point. Okay.
yeah, I think the last newsletter just went out, so I don't know, I haven't
It
read
did,
it,
but
actually seen
she
it. so
can
I've not
actually
seen it.
talk about it at a Friday lunch, because a lot
Right.
of people come on Fridays, so we
Right.
can
Yeah,
address it at
yeah.
that point. And I'll go with her if need be.
Okay.
Good.
We'll try to do a little bit of a needs assessment and find out how much
Yeah.
expansion, real expansion we need to
We
do
need
for the
to.
future.
Sure.
And I appreciate the thoughtfulness you all are putting into,
Yeah.
just to compliment you and Terry, I appreciate that you guys are being very thoughtful and deliberative about this and appreciating all the moving factors, so thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, 6F, community picnic and fireworks. Does anybody have anything to add to the discussion we already had?
Nope.
Okay, Fall Fields meeting. Thank God.
Well, just report that basically, we had the meeting last week, we established field assignments for, there are 2 different soccer groups in town, we've had some conversation at some of these meetings about that. It worked out, or hopefully will work out, we've assigned certain fields to one group, other fields to the other group. Guilford Youth, Little League, senior baseball, football, they were all there represented at the meeting, and everybody kind of knows what fields they have, so I think it was a amicable meeting, and hopefully things will work out.
Commentary to add, every group represented themselves professionally as an adults. We did not have a Hatfield and McCoy situation. I think Rick and I both anticipated a confrontation for which neither one of us wanted to be the judge. But they had conversations prior to that meeting, and we just pretty much resolved some minor points. and everything worked out fine. Everybody got what they felt their needs were, and they were all met. So everybody left the meeting, and it was very positive and very congenial.
Positive.
Thank God.
I like that.
Okay.
And Ralph, thanks you to you for being there too.
New business. 7A, more boat racks at Jacobs Beach.
I'm throwing this out there. We actually have 20 names on a waiting list for boat racks this year.
Wow.
Last year we had 3 or 4 racks that we didn't sell out. We sold out, and there are 20 names, and
How many racks do we have?
193
Wow.
or
How many
195.
separate units are there?
Oh. Boy, I'm gonna guess 8 or 9 maybe, roughly.
Is there room for another
Well,
one?
the only place we can put them, I think, is we can't go any more parallel to where they are now, because there's that sort of, if you're looking at the water to the left, if you're at the playground looking at the water to the left, there's sort of a new, almost little beach that's been created by the hurricanes. So I think the only place we could do it is perpendicular to the way they are now, against the other property beyond ours, and start going that way. So if you're looking toward the marina, the private property beyond there, and kind of going that way a little bit. I think the only place we can do it, that's owned by Chris McManus. He was in my office about 3 weeks ago about something else, and I just ran it by him. He's the property owner. I said, if we had to build more boat racks and wanted to put them, would you have any issue with that? It'd be on our property, not his anyway. He said no, he didn't have any problem with that. I think it's the only place we can go at Jacobs Beach. Beyond that, maybe we start looking at Chittenden or something. I don't know. There's really no more other
Wow.
places. We can't go to Daniel Avenue Beach right now. There's no parking there.
No.
So if we want to continue, I think it's a good problem to have. The popularity
great.
of kayaking and canoeing is just soaring right now. And now paddle boarding. I don't know if you have any paddle boards down there yet, but that's a big up and coming activity. So I'm asking. It's preliminary. We're not going to do it now for this season anyway. But if there are Eagle Scouts looking for a project, that's been a great Eagle Scout project, and I want to be able to say, hey, we can
Yeah.
build some more boat racks.
for it.
But I want to get your blessing to do that, because that's the only place I can see us doing it down there.
Yeah, well, if there's a need, go for it.
Okay.
At some point in time, we're gonna have to put a cap on it though, because we'll wind up
Yes.
halfway into Long Island Sound.
Yeah.
Yeah, we eventually, but.
Yeah.
As long as we have room.
Well, maybe next year on the park walk, we ought to have a look at Chittenden as the
Yeah.
next possible
Mhm.
place of expansion. I mean, that would be really nice. You could go up the river there and.
Yeah, it'd be a good
It's
spot.
location to start off.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's easier. The water's calmer over
Mhm.
there.
Okay.
Okay, 7B, Rick, request for Guilford Arts Center donation for tents.
Yeah, this was because of the success of the We Are Guilford event as part of the community picnic. There were 48 businesses that came, and so the Arts Center allowed us. Every year they allow us to use a couple of the big tents for the community band. Anyway, which was you were there, I think, Barb,
Yes,
right?
it
That
was huge success.
We talked about the fireworks,
That's
but
great.
boy,
Right.
that band was
They were
great.
excellent.
And when they did the 1812 overture at the
It's
end,
fun.
and Larry Santamaria was shooting the gun off,
Yep.
every time,
Oh,
he was
he was
upset that it was
great.
over. I
He
think.
was great.
He thought, wait a minute, was there another one I was supposed to? He was having a good time.
It was really good.
It was great, though,
It
wasn't
was.
it?
I loved it.
And the bells were ringing in the churches, and it was good.
Yeah.
I digress there, but so we
Yeah,
used
huge
more of the
tents there.
tents in the Arts Center. Some of the electrical work, they wanted to have the electrician do some of the work in those tents. They couldn't do because we were using them, and so the Arts Center had made a request of the 2 women who ran that business part of it to have some of the money collected be donated to them because they had to pay for the tents and we got to use them. And so then they told me that. I said, well, the commission really has to approve that. I can't just say yes, you can have give you a donation for
How
this.
much are they asking
Well,
for?
they didn't ask for a specific amount. The amount there's still a little bit outstanding, but they told Catherine Kiernan told me it's going to be $1,170. They had to rent tables, which was $450. We haven't gotten that bill yet. So the net that we have, the net balance is $720. So I don't know if we wanted to contribute part of that to the Arts Center for letting us use the tents or not. But it's a request they made because they're paying for the tents and we were getting to use them for nothing.
Right, and that would be fair.
Yeah.
To give them something for
Yeah.
that. Plus, if we're going to continue the kind of event we had this year with the same number of people and the
Right.
need for tents, I think that would be fair.
And this is the only year we ever collected money for anything, because, the
Right.
community picnic is free, and there was never, and it was
Yeah.
never an issue before, but I think because money came in, we got to use their tents, they're paying for the tents, and, well, maybe we should contribute something for
Why
that.
don't we
I agree.
contribute half
Yeah.
of our profit?
I think that's fair. It's
Yeah.
a-
I mean, just
After,
to kind
you know,
of
the net. So
set up
350?
something for the future, if we're gonna be moving in this direction.
Sharon.
I'm wondering if maybe we want to think of it as asking them to set up some kind of lease agreement, or, that it's actually per tent, or if we're gonna, just because we might possibly be establishing some kind of precedent, we
Mhm.
might want to be intentional about how we're doing this.
Yeah, put the burden
Yeah,
on them to
'cause
come
if
up
we
with
end
some
up-
thoughts.
Yeah, because if we end up doing, cost, profit, kind
More
of
than
thing,
what it
that
costs.
could get complicated over the years, so I'm wondering if maybe they might just be willing to
Well,
set a price.
Had they,
for us.
had they asked when they said, when they requested the donation, did they put out a number or did
No.
they a percent or?
I don't think he knew how much was collected. I didn't know
Sure.
actually until today, when I got
But-
the email.
No, but I mean, it's coming from us, not, they didn't know we were looking to get monies from what we collected, but just in general, did they ask for an amount then?
They
No.
didn't.
No.
Okay.
No.
But if we sent it to them and said we're, sharing our profits with you, have
Mhm.
50/50, would that not set a precedent for if there was no profit, we wouldn't send any money? I mean, tents are really expensive to rent. I know we've talked about this in ABC for the Secret Garden Tour. So
Yeah, they
they've
are.
put out a lot of money for those tents.
Yeah, so because of that, I'm thinking that maybe we want to just go ahead and set up something so that we can use it in the future, because, if we see that to be, if we believe in that, if for some reason one year we don't make as much,
Mhm.
and we're only giving 50%, then, we might not be giving them as much, or, it makes it all, rather than just, because if we're doing it because of wear and tear, which makes perfect sense to me, then it seems like just let's establish some kind of whatever the price might be, and then we do it. And because maybe they're a fellow nonprofit, they want to, maybe it's going to be, not for really costly like it for the for-profit,
Mhm.
rental companies. I just think it's easier if we kind of set something established rather than.
So you're suggesting actual dollar amount as opposed to, because what if,
Oh.
like Barbara says, what if next year we don't have any businesses or very few, and we rented the tables and we lost money on it?
Well, I think you could say in this year's donation to them, that this amount doesn't constitute a precedent for any future decisions
Mhm.
made by
Right.
the Parks and Recreation Commission.
And we can work
Department.
something out.
Yeah.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is that's actually my concern.
Be proactive
Is if in
before.
fact, as if in fact,
Yeah.
we're doing it because we believe that there's wear and tear. If we don't make a profit next year,
Still
I'd
wear and
still
tear.
feel, there's
It's
still
still
wear and tear. I
tear.
still would feel bad that we weren't, giving them something, they're a nonprofit, and so kind of so that's why I do think it's important to go ahead and establish something.
What would you do to establish a precedent, Jenny? I mean, would it be in the letter?
Yeah, if they would go ahead and send us a contract, and we
Yeah.
would sign, and we would, go ahead and, so now, obviously, it's gonna be something retroactive, but then it'll be in place for next year, so that we could do it.
How would
Okay.
you come up with
They,
the
they would,
amount?
they would bill us, and so we can have a conversation with them about what they wanted, how they wanna do
Well,
it. I think they should bill us.
where are these tents to on the green, right?
They're all over the green.
Yeah.
Some large, some huge ones and some smaller
So do they pay
ones.
anything for putting these tents up on the green?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
The Art Center does, yeah. Yeah.
So,
they get
and
used
who
to
do they
it.
pay? Us?
No, they pay
Rental.
the rental company, whoever they rent the tents from, which is usually DC Hall. That's been doing it for years, and we've worked, the community picnic we've been doing 13 years now, I think, 14, 15. Every year they've allowed us to use the big tent for the community band, and usually there are two tents next to the big tents, and people would sit in there for shade and listen to the band. And then I would work out with Dave Hall, the tent guy, what tents would be not in our way for the community picnic. So he's worked very well with us, and we have the moon bounces and the rock climbing wall, other things that we do out there. So we always wanted to make sure that he knew what space we needed for open space, and he would agree not to put those tents up. The art center has always been good about not having those tents put up during that time. So it's always been a good cooperative relationship. I think because they have some, big expenses in those tents, and they knew some money was collected this year for the use of those tents, well, can you help us out a little bit? Basically, it wasn't a demand, it was just, hey,
Right.
can you help us? And so I said, I'll go to the commission, and I thought for this year, the 50%
We're always
made good
sending them a
sense.
note
I think it does
saying,
make
we
sense
agree,
this year.
and, to give us your thoughts.
Yeah.
I don't know, I would move that we share the profits this year, make it clear that because money was collected, that we are willing to share the net proceeds from that event, and going forward, if there aren't profits, we might not be able to do that, or something to not say we're gonna give you $350 every year, but because we did get it this year. And I don't know, I kind of.
I would second that, Barb.
Okay.
I would. I think, otherwise, we're gonna have to start looking at this as a line item in the budget to
Right.
make sure that we have the money,
Right.
and that becomes another issue, so. I think for now, this
One time
would be
this
the way to
year.
go.
But this, right.
Just this year.
And we'll work something out for
And I
next
think
year.
it's a good thing to do, just not part of the motion, but a good thing to do, because they've been so generous with
Yes.
us
Yes.
all these years.
Yeah.
I agree.
So I agree with definitely giving the money. I would prefer to not do it in this way.
Okay.
Okay.
And as part of the discussion on the motion, Rick, you might want to consult with our town green committee on that as well. Because here we're exchanging proceeds, profits, and that town committee has a lot to say about the use of that green too.
They do.
I mean, they don't have a vote, but they have a voice.
Mhm.
Motion.
Did they
Did I- yeah,
Yes, motion's been made and seconded.
Made and seconded.
Any more discussion on the motion that's been made and seconded? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
One.
One item of.
Yeah, I have to read something too, and then real quick. My only issue with that is, what if they ultimately had to move to
The fairgrounds.
the fairgrounds? Wouldn't they have to pay?
They have to pay for the green too.
Okay.
They pay something for the green because of the vendors, all the vendors that come on the green.
Okay.
And it
Just
goes
wanted
to,
to,
I know it doesn't go to our, I think it goes to the Green Committee's account, I think for, I'm
Now
not
I
sure what.
understand what Jack was
Tree
saying.
repairs, tree replacements or whatever.
Go ahead, Bob. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I wanted to ask Rick when he has to have the budget prepared, both the capital budget and what are the timelines for that? Because.
Don't know yet, but we have a director's meeting tomorrow, so I may hear it tomorrow. Usually the capital budget we do first, and that's usually in October, I think.
Right.
And then the operating budget is usually
We'll rush
around
in December, and
December.
they'll tell us they needed it the Friday beforehand. right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Third week in December is usually when the regular budget.
Well, in the
is.
past, we've always had a helpful workshop where we talked
Right.
about the capital improvements that we want. We've also had a chance to talk with
And we've
staff about
solicited
things
input, well, you-
Right.
that
thank
they
you.
want. So I would suggest that we plan an early October workshop.
I agree.
For, besides our regular meeting,
Yes.
to talk about these things and make it early enough so that staff can attend and not have to be staying too late.
Yes.
Okay, just as a note, a quick piece of, last item I have, I'm adding it to the agenda. It's a letter I received, it was dated July 28th. Ralph, per our conversation, you have been term limited on the Recreation and Parks Department, and you can continue to serve on the board until a replacement is appointed, period. So if they find somebody, well, why I say that is we usually elect in January. If we think we need to make a move in case something happens, or we'll wait till something
Barbara
happens, because I'm
becomes
not going anywhere for a new chairman until,
Barbara would become chair until we
Okay.
have our meeting.
okay, good. That's it. Just wanted to make people aware that I've been notified or duly served.
I move we adjourn.
Wait, can I just make a quick announcement about the concerts?
Yes.
That was great last night.
Last night we had
It's
about
fabulous.
1,000 people at our
Wonderful.
Beatle tribute concert. The next one is August 17th. It's a Rolling Stones tribute band, and the last one is August 24th, and it's a tribute to the Who. And we went with British invasion bands this year, so it's all British groups. But last night was, about 1,000
They
people.
did a great job, a lot of people, it was a lot of fun.
Before you.
Moving.
Move to adjourn?
I did.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned at 7:27 PM.